Hello everyone and welcome to my first podcast in which I review books. I wanted to basically do podcasts where I just review books and do other stuff like sports, but I don't know. I just do whatever the hell I want. Now, I really like doing podcasts mainly because I get to speak my mind. You get to read my opinions, especially on book reviews. Because I give no crap about the book, and I don't make any sense right now because I don't know what to say next, even though I have a script right in front of me and I just don't want to say anything, I guess. I don't know. Now, I'm going to be very honest. I'm not much of a reader, mainly because A, who reads? B, it's too long. Certain books are way too long. I'm not going to read what's one book that I'm thinking of? I'm not gonna read Charles Dickens, A Tale of Two Cities. I'm not gonna read Charles Dickens all day. I'm gonna get bored by reading that. So I'm just gonna read whatever books I like and whatever books I want to review and give my opinion on. The reason why I want to review them, as I've stated before, is I just want to share my opinions, dog. I don't care if you care. You don't have to care if you care, but I just want to share my opinions. Hey, this is my podcast. I can do whatever the hell I want. I want to review a certain book that I've been reading so far, and that I finished reading and I thoroughly enjoyed. Michael Crichton's The Andromeda Strain. I cannot speak today. Anyway, let's get right into it. Now, I've never read a Michael Crichton novel until now. Basically, this book that I'm reviewing, I know Michael Crichton is known for Jurassic Park. The novel that's made a shit ton of movies, made by Steven Spielberg, and that's getting the sixth and final movie, maybe, of the whole franchise to put this goddamn thing to sleep. And I should have read that first. However, I just never had the money. Well, that's a lie. I had the money. I just never bought it. And I picked this up for free. So I'm just going to review this one first. So the plot of this book is essentially a manned satellite with American military personnel burns and crashes into the small quaint town of Piedmont, Arizona. After it crashes, the whole town starts to die except for two people. Convenient, am I right? A baby and a 69-year-old man. Nice. When the military finds out that the disease has killed an entire town except for those two people, I don't know how. Well, actually, you'll figure out once you read the novel. I've read the novel. I know how they basically survive. You will have to read the novel in order to figure that out for yourselves. Where was I? Oh, yes. The military finds out about this and they initiate Operation Wildfire, where they basically gather all of America's top scientists to solve and cure this disease. It's pretty much the same thing, but they're going to cure it anyway. So that's basically the basic overview. Now, I want to discuss about the main characters for a bit. They are basically your stereotypical 1960s scientist. When I was trying to read this book, and then I basically looked up what it's about, it's essentially, this was written and published in 1969, and this was Michael Crichton's first book that he published under his own name. And that's why most of the main characters are your stereotypical 1960s scientist. You have Dr. Jeremy Stone, well, they're not stereotypical, but they're a 1960s scientist. They have Dr. Jeremy Stone, a Nobel Peace Prize scientist that's known for his work on bacterial diseases. He is the guy who leads who's the leader of the whole 6 scientist group, and he tends to be a bit of a hard ass, but you're getting used to him. They point this out by saying he was 4 times married, but, he gets a lot of his shit done. Then you have Dr. Peter Levitt, a pathologist that actually specialized in parasitology, parasites, worms, tapeworms, and all of that, and has epilepsy, which is a very important plot point in the book if you're going to read it. In addition to Dr. Levitt, whatever, you have Dr. Charles Burton, a medical doctor from the Baylor Medical Center in Houston, Texas. He is responsible for studying bacteria in human tissue, and he's accompanied a lot of NASA missions because, he's from Houston. What else is he going to do? Study bacteria? No, that's boring. In addition to that, you have two other guys, which I don't want to mention basically because they're important, but they're not that important. You'll figure them out once you read the book, if you do decide to read the book. But the sixth guy I really want to talk about is Dr. Mark Hall, the surgeon that Dr. Peter Leavitt brings along, and Jeremy Stone does not approve because he seems a bit odd, which is indicative because he's literally the odd man in the group, which proves the odd man hypothesis, which is the idea that the odd man will give them random insight into something that you that you need to solve for. He kind of plays the role at the end. I'm gonna give a little minor spoiler. He kind of plays a role in the end. He plays a role in the end of the book and he proves that I'm sorry, I cannot speak today. He kind of plays a role in the book at the end, and he does prove the odd man hypothesis literally. So yeah, just read the book, alright? You'll figure out what I mean, alright? I'm not gonna spoil it that much. Overall, I kind of enjoyed this book. It was a good first time read on how Michael Crichton writes a novel. What I noticed, and if you go into the back of the book, is that he has a couple of references, and because he researched the books first, and then he writes his story around it, which is honestly a really good idea for science fiction novels to do that. Because if you do that, you tend to actually have very interesting plots. That's what I've noticed. I've read science fiction novels with no research. Ready Player One is one. I mean, that's technically dystopian, but it's more science fiction, right? Anyway. Most science fiction novels I'm not aware of, but I'm guessing he does this so that he doesn't want to suspect anyone of saying bullshit, and the plot has to make sense, right? Michael Crichton's research helps develop certain important plot points in the book. Before I get into that, there's going to be a mild spoiler, so if you've not read the book yet and you still want to read it, you've been warned. If you don't want to read the book and you just want me to explain, then whatever. In Chapter 8, Directive 712, this is the title of the chapter, by the way, explains that directive. The whole idea, which is that the president can basically nuke something if he so wants to in a certain area. For example, in the book it does state, a satellite or manned capsule lands in an unpopulated area of the United States. The president may cauterize the area with little domestic uproar and small loss of life. The Russians may be privately informed of the reasons for breaking the Moscow Treaty of 1963, forbidding above-ground nuclear testing. Crichton, 87. And yes, I read that off the whole script. Sue me. But yeah, that's pretty much, that's a Cold War novel when they say the Russians and then the Moscow Treaty of 1963. It's a Cold War novel. That whole passage is very important because it does pertain to the end of the book. I won't spoil that here, but if you want to read the book and you want to know about that, that's a little tidbit that can help you in finding out what happens at the end of the book. But if you like it and you want to read it so far, go ahead, read it, and make your own opinions. But this is my podcast, so I'm going to say my opinion, okay? Overall, I would recommend this book if you want to kill time. I basically picked this up for free, and I started reading it on the way back to my home from college, and I was 53 pages until I landed. I took a flight, and I read the whole thing, and I enjoyed it. I loved the book. It's pretty good. I would recommend if you were really into science fiction novels. But if you're going to use it as a school study group, if you're going to use it for a school project, I wouldn't recommend it because most literature teachers will not recommend this in their book, and also because high school literature sucks. But yeah, it's pretty much what it is. But if you want to like enjoy, have a good read, you should read this podcast. What? You should read this book. What the fuck is wrong with me? Anyway, yeah, that's my whole review of the book. That's the end of my first podcast. So if you've liked it, please, let me know feedback. I'm going to post this on YouTube and SoundCloud if I can. And yeah, please let me know. And yeah, thank you. Thank you for listening to this podcast. This is me, Sandian Express, and I am out.